Welcome to Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. Today, I have a guest who is joining me on a special project that we're going to be talking about. Her name is Lindsay Ellis, and we together are going to be co-authors in an anthology. Who the initial person is Desiree Cruz. A lot of you in my circles know who Desiree Cruz is, and she's got a series called Warrior Women, where we share our stories of strength and triumph. And we're going to be talking to Lindsay. She is my first Warrior Woman interview, and I'm very excited about that. And we're going to hear all about her chapter, and a little bit about her life. So let's welcome Lindsay to the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming on Unscripted. So excited.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you're my first Warrior Woman, right?
So yeah, my Warrior Woman shirt on too.
Oh man, I should have had mine on. Right, we should have talked about that.
Yeah.
So Lindsay, I didn't read your bio, but that's why this is unscripted, right? So let me share a little bit about you. You are a coach, an advisor, speaker, and author. She is passionate about helping people be the best versions of themselves in a way that is sustainable so they can truly enjoy life at its best and recover quickly when it's not going so well. Don't we all know about that? She is a wife, mother, and dog lover, me too, who enjoys being in nature. Lindsay! All right, so Lindsay, tell me, how did you get into, first of all, the space of being coach, advisor, speaker? That's not something, even though we hear a lot of people in that, it really is not as many people as we think, right? Or that are successful in being that. What led you to want to do that?
Honestly, I think I kind of fell into it because I had left my corporate career. And I had a passion, and I loved my corporate job. I absolutely loved it. But there was it was time for me to leave, and I knew that. It was like I'd done all that I could there. My mom had just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I had a lot of things in life going on, and I just needed to take a step back. And I was really involved with fitness too. So I went and got my personal training, and I was personal training for a year at least. And all of my clients would always call me their life coach. And they're like, "You're my life coach. You're my life coach." And I'm like, "What is that? Like, what are you talking about?" And so then I was approached by somebody else about a positive psychology master's. They really felt like I needed to be in this master's program. So I looked into it and I was like, let's do it. So I did it, but it was a positive psychology coaching master's program. So I love positive psychology. I already have a master's of business development leadership, like organizational skill, organizational leadership. Nice. So it was kind of nice. Like I kept on thinking about how I'd put them together. So I really wanted to focus on people that make up our organizations, what they are going through every single day, because it just so happened that over those last 3 years, when I was in my master's for the next 3 years, I had gone through so much turmoil and so much trauma. Like every single month, something happened. And I'm so thankful that I was in this space, that I was 1, grounded, 2, I knew my core values, 3, I had the support system of the positive psychology. But like I realized so much that the people that are making up our organizations today are the people that are also going through the same things that I went through. Maybe right. Not all of them, but like there's a lot of them going through that. And how do we handle them? How do we show up as our best self at work? How do we give everything that we need? How do we show up like in our work as our best self, but also to our family and have everything on the table. And so I really just became passionate about helping people become the best versions and become resilient so they can live the best of all worlds.
Nice. So I got a couple questions that already popped up in my head about all that, right? Number one, when you were in your corporate job, and this is a very common theme that I keep hearing, and even within myself, I have a corporate job myself within the medical field, right? So do you feel like this inner knowing, like, oh my God, I know that there's something so much more that I'm supposed to be doing? Do you walk around with that feeling inside, triggered like that? Or were there just things happening around you that you just didn't feel satisfied?
It was a little bit of both. I knew, so when I was in my corporate job, I was a business development manager, and we would work with other like offices to help them sell a product, right? But like I love to do the whole thing, and I knew, and I would just see so much success with my clients, and I was like, I'm supposed to be doing this on a bigger level. Like I just knew that I was supposed to be doing it on a bigger level, not just like centered around one product, but like just centered around that company. And so thankfully now, I am 7 years later, I am with a company now that we get to do that every day. We get to partner with, get to partner with companies that want to be better, people that want to be better. And then I also get to do my thing where I can inspire people and talk on stages and teach them core values and all of that stuff. So it was a little bit of everything. I feel like there's a bigger purpose in this world, and I just want to leave it better than the way that I found it.
Amen. Amen. So I think you answered my next question, which was this pre-COVID or during COVID? And how did COVID affect what you were doing? So this was pre-COVID. You already had this stirring, right?
Yeah, pre-COVID, I was personal training. Actually 2019, I was getting a compassionate integrity certification. And I was actually on a WebEx during the pandemic. We were in all different continents on this program, and things were shutting down way before. And I'll never forget, like that. It was Thursday after class, 11 a.m. I shut the computer. I left my house. I went to the grocery store, and like my husband had been telling me, he's like, "No, it's not going to come over here. It's not going to come over here." And I was like, it's everywhere except for here right now. Like I gotta go. And so I went and got stuff. It happened to be my son's birthday that Monday that our world shut down. Mm-hmm. And but like during COVID, I was still able to, I was thankful in my situation because I was working from home. My husband was already working from home. And we were able to branch out to our communities around us, around health. And that's where I was really able to be like a safe place for people, not only like through fitness, but through health, through mental health. And so for me, it was very rewarding because I was able to help the people around me and virtually stay above water as much as they could.
Wow. Talk about life preparing you for what's to come next, right?
Yeah.
Craziness. So one of the things that I always say is that mortality has a funny way of providing clarity, right? And you mentioned mom and Alzheimer's, right? Yeah. So as a nurse who works with the elderly all the time, right? And so they have a special place in my heart. Not only that, my mother-in-law suffered from Alzheimer's as well, and a couple more family members. So I know how devastating, that journey is, and just the emotional aspect of it. Can you talk a little bit about that? About mom's diagnosis and your response and reaction to it?
Yeah. I live 3 hours away from my mom. And so my sister was right there during the whole thing. My father had passed away from brain cancer in 2006. And it was about 2009, 2010, we started seeing like some dementia type thing, symptoms. And my sister and I were pretty concerned about her. And it was 2016. I was going through a divorce, and she was officially diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Like she had the early onset Alzheimer's in her 60s. And I just remember like thinking, one, life's too short, and I need to get my priorities straight. I'm going through this massive divorce. It's really hard on me. It's hard on my family. It's hard on my son. And it's hard and then my mom's diagnosed. I'm 3 hours away. I'm working 50 hours a week as a single mom. Like something's got to give. Mm-hmm. And I just knew that there was a bigger purpose. So I needed to step away. And I realized very quickly that being further away from it it wasn't necessarily easier. There was very different perspectives. Like my sister was very upfront and close to it. And she struggled a lot because it can be very frustrating when, especially in the early times where people, like my mom, for instance, like she knows you and then she doesn't know you. She remembers and then she doesn't remember. And you never know when and what's happening. And it kind of catches you off guard. And I just like, there was a thing that popped into my head when I was with her one day, because I was feeling that and getting frustrated. She actually told me we were in Walmart one day and she was like, get in the cart. And I was like, no.
Like when you were a little girl, get in the cart.
I was like, no, I'm not getting in the cart. And my sister was like, you're talking back to mom? And I was like, I am 36 years old. I'm not getting in the cart. And so, but I would just remember, like, they may not remember what we say, but they'll always remember how we made them feel.
Yes.
And so that's kind of what I went off of ever since then, is just, I want her to be happy, and I want her to feel loved. I don't want her to feel stressed when I'm around her. And that's just what our relationship, she doesn't know who I am anymore. And she thinks I'm this crazy lady that comes and visits her and shows her my sparkly shoes. But, I try to bring something fun to show her every time, just so she might think I'm interesting. And we can start a conversation. So
that's fabulous. It's the first time I've heard that statement before, but in this context, I think I'm going to use it. All right. Because it is so true that people may not remember who you are, but they remember how you make them feel. And that is so key with someone with dementia, because we talk about we have to join them in their journey, right? You don't fight, you don't argue. You're not going to win that battle. That's their reality. So you join them in their reality, right? And there's so many people that are being diagnosed earlier and earlier, right? So it's key for all of us, not just those that can't remember, right? To make sure that this may be the last time that you talk to someone. And I think COVID showed us that. Yeah. You never know when your last conversation with someone is going to be. So make sure it's one that your communications are full of compassion, right? That's so important, so important. So let's talk about warrior women. So what inspired you to be a part of that journey?
I was so blown away and just like thankful when Desiree asked me to be a part of it. It was a huge honor. And I feel like over, when I sat down to start writing and thinking, okay, like, can I put this together? It was an automatic yes for me. I was just so thankful and excited about it. But I felt like over life, I had so much to learn, and she put it in such a beautiful way that, like, sometimes when people know what your reality has been, they're scared to ask questions, right? They're scared to ask questions because they don't want to tread on waters that might make you sad, or they think your story might be sad or something like that. And to me, it's like, I'm a happy person. I may have been through a lot of things, but because of those things, they've created the person that I am, and my heart, and the way that I see things in perspective. And I think it's beautiful, and I love it, and I want to trade it for the world. Yeah, they were hard times, but I was so excited to be able to share it in a way that I could give positive lessons in the outcome that inspired other people, so they too can hop out of whatever it is they're going through.
Right. Can you share a little bit, without giving away your chapter, right? A little bit about what people can expect. And guys, I heard this chapter and I was like, wow, completely blown away by what you shared, because I didn't know all those things. Like, we've been in spaces before, you've talked, but I didn't know a lot of the things that you share. So, this is going to be transformational for a lot of people who read your chapter. So share with us a little bit about that and your journey.
You're asking about what made me want to share?
No, the exact your life that you share in your chapter.
Why did I share it? Or like, you want me to share it without sharing it? Sorry.
Share it without sharing it. Yeah. Say, hey guys, I went through this, right? What did you go through? Tell us, what did you go through? You're not going to tell us all the steps that happened. Guys, you have to buy the book, either from Lindsay or me.
I know, yeah.
Read the whole thing. Exactly. But you went through some hard times, right? Talk to us a little bit about what kind of hard times did you go through?
I mean, I went through a lot just growing up, like that worthiness, wondering like what my worthiness was. I went through, I went through divorce. I went through trying to being a mom and trying to figure out like if I was capable of raising somebody, and like what that looked like. And then I also, I went through, like I said, a different thing nearly every month for a year. Cancer. My sister was ill. My ex-husband passed away. Just to name a few. It was just, and like I was scammed. That launched the whole thing. I was scammed and I lost $50,000. And so it just, all of these things happened, I just share a little bit about the life lessons along the way that helped me stay. One, before, when things would happen, I would just fall flat on my face. But then what helped me stay grounded through the journey and helped me become stronger and rebound so much quicker.
Yeah. So, I mean, you went through a lot of things. People go through one of those things that you've gone through, right? Yeah. And there's can't pick up the pieces and they can't move forward. They don't know what next step to take. You were going through one thing after another thing after another thing, which is what got me when you're reading your chapter. I'm like, oh God, I went through this for this period, but not one after the other, which was really, truly what got me. And I think as you share it, right, one thing prepared you for the next thing. Because of the strength that you took from this thing, you were able to take that and build. It was like building blocks.
Yeah.
Who you became. Right?
Yeah, it was. And there was a lot of trust involved in the process where it was like, do I know who I am? Do I know what I value? Do I believe? Do I have my faith? And I think a lot of that, like every time something happened, because I didn't know something else was going to happen. It's not like I could just wrap it up in a pretty bow and be like, okay, we're ready for the next one. It was like, you're in the midst of it. And then bam, in the midst of it, bam. And so on the other side of things, I just realized, when I look back, I'm like, man, thank you, God. And it was just, and I'm just so glad that I had the level of faith that I did to where I could stay cool, calm, and collected during the whole thing and show up as my full self and not in a reactionary state.
Right.
And so I share the lessons and the tools that I used in my chapter. I share that in the chapter on what I used.
That's amazing. And like I said, I heard it. So, there's going to be something for everybody. The thing that you think that you went through, she went through it. Right. And that makes you, sometimes God does that to us, right? Because he knows that our purpose is bigger. He knows that we're supposed to reach a larger amount of people. So in order to do that, he's got to put you through it. One thing is reading about it. One thing is living through it, So kudos to you for sharing and doing all that God has asked you to do, right? Faith. Let's talk about that a little bit, right? And you say you had a strong faith, right? Through it. But I'm sure that you felt at times it was tested. And did you truly believe? Right? And I went through the same thing.
Yeah.
So what was there a pivotal moment or something where you were like, no, this is true. I am faithful. Was there a moment like that for you that was like, okay, enough is enough. I know that this is true. And I know that God is present.
Definitely like my cancer story for sure. But that was like that kind of like the end of the journey. But like, I feel like all along I was like, okay. And I was like trying and praying and like just in this like center. And then I just be like, okay, there's a little piece of me that would be like, are you sure? And like, at what point are you going to break? But my cancer story wrapped it up pretty beautifully when there was an answered prayer and it was just so prevalent. It was like in my face prevalent. And I feel like it was one of those things where, he knew I had been asking and he was thankful that I was being so faithful throughout no matter what. But at the end of the day, he just wanted to show me. And it was amazing.
Yeah. And listen, God is present always. Yep. Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. And sometimes we don't know why it's yes or no, right? Why sometimes we don't get the answers. But when you look back, you see why, right? Just like we make decisions for our children sometimes and they don't understand and they're mad at us because I want to do whatever this is, but I can see further than you can, right? And I know that this is the path that I need you to take and why, right? Yeah. So tell us now, you've taken all of these different journeys, you've packaged them up, and now people can work with you. How can people get a hold of you? Tell us about your websites and what we can find on them.
My website is getting reconstructed right now to where I'm going to have all of my free downloads on there. You'll have a way to connect with me. You can still go on it. It's still live, but it's the lindsayellis.com. That's always a great place to start because then you can access me through social media and all the things. Then I have a few free downloads on there on how to find your core values, how to be responsive and not reactive. A few things like that. And I'll just continuously add. I'll eventually have a blog up there too. So
yeah, when we share this episode, we're going to have all your different social media websites that you have. We'll have them listed for you guys as well. Cool. So Lindsay, one of the last questions I always ask my guests is, how do you define success?
Fullness. Like when my heart is full and I am just like when success to me is like when my shoulders are back and down and my head's straight up and I'm like, there's confidence there. And I just know that I'm in a full place, in a full heart, and I've done everything that I can and I'm happy and there's gratitude. I think that's what I define as success.
I love that. I love that. First time I've ever heard that. But listen, I expect a lot of firsts from Lindsay Ellis. All right. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for coming on to Unscripted today. Guys, be on the lookout for our warrior women. You're going to see on my Facebook, on Lindsay's Facebook, you're going to see a lot of things coming up. She and I are going to join in New York City, hopefully, soon. And so watch out for that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And guys, I will see you next time.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gabrielle Morales, and I am a recruitment coordinator for Be The Match. My journey with Be The Match actually began when I was only 9 years old. At that point, my 7-month-old baby sister was diagnosed with an extremely rare form of leukemia. Through the Be The Match registry, we were able to find a matching donor for my sister. And although a few months later, we lost her, her cancer was cured. Our family is so thankful for the additional months that we had with my sister. And ever since then, I've made a promise to myself to dedicate my life to helping children just like Isabella and helping families like ours by continuing her legacy. Hence why I now work for Be The Match. I love what I do so much, and I'm able to spread awareness about the huge need for more donors on the registry, especially those of diverse backgrounds. There is currently a huge disparity within the registry for minority patients, and we need your help. It is so simple to save a life and to be put on the registry. You can visit izzy'slegacy.com or text Izzy's Legacy to the number 61474 to start the registration process to be on the Be The Match registry, to hopefully be a life-saving match for a searching patient in need.